G'day. We're on day 5, ride number 4. Gino's going to come right up and talk to the camera. Okay, day 5, ride number 4 of Gino's journey. We've got another change of venue. Because I don't train full time and I just do lessons and clinics now, I don't have a facility of my own, which is why all the venue changes. I still like him to hunt, just hunt around and explore the new arenas on his own. But what I might do is, because what he showed me yesterday was he had his little run around and then he got tired, so he possibly was a little tired, which is why he was a little more reluctant to go. So I mightn't run him quite so much today. Good boy. Very good. You can see it's freshly raked. He hasn't been running around here. He's just, hooked on pretty quick, which is a great thing to see. And it is still a warm summer's day, so like I said yesterday, he might have got a little worn out, and that's maybe why he was a little more reluctant to go. And he's pretty brave, confident horse. I probably don't need to run him around this pen as much as I did. I still like having my horse do these sort of things. I don't I said I like to do my groundwork where I feel it's practical, things that are going to be important to me. I want to catch my horse, I want to ride him, and I want him to want to be with me and not crowd me. Like you can even see he's learnt to keep his position when he stops. He's not sort of running over top of me. He's starting to, these are the things that are important to me. Like he wants to be with me, but he's keeping a respectful distance. He's easy to catch and he wants to follow me around. So we're heading down here. The saddle and everything's a bit close to the camera. Boy. Oh boy. So one thing you notice, and I'll do a whole video at some point on groundwork, is when he comes into my space, I don't move my feet. I move him out of my space. So a lot of people, if he were to come over and step into there, they'd get back out of his way. And the trouble is for the horse is they view that as hurting. It's obviously on a very small level, but they move into our space. If I yield, it's the start of him going, oh, well, I wonder if I can, you know, take that to the next level. And especially a horse like him, he's had, you know, a bit of handling, and he's got, I'm not going to say spoilt issues, but, you know, a little bit here and there. He feels pretty important at times. It's important that I keep an eye on that. And I do trust, normally, like if he was a little bit more reactive horse, I'd really want his head there the whole time. But I don't mind him looking around. I'm pretty sure he's going to stay with me. Okay. So we should have a pretty good angle on that camera. I draw this very smooth to a point where it's firm but not tight. And it has to be firm, because if he does move off and jumps around, we can't afford to have this saddle slip. Like if he jumps around and the saddle slips, well, he's going to get a fright at that. So it's got to be firm enough to hold, but that's it. So the first pull is just to that point. And then, you know, I'll go up 2 or 3 holes from that. Like I said, I never skim that. It doesn't really matter how old the horse is. I always take the girth up in stages. Don't want to walk backwards, but that little bit of movement right at the start, I needed to keep his head towards me and make sure his butt was going the other way. Oh no. We'll draw that another hole. Oh, oh. Oh no. Good boy. And cantering, I'd still like him to do a little free canter on his own with the saddle. But obviously his lunging game is getting better each day too, so we could get to the point where we give him a longer lead and, you know, we use the lunge whip and chase him up, and we can do all of that. But just at the moment, you know, it doesn't hurt him to go for a run around, and we can let the fence kind of keep him here. Just hope he doesn't run over the cameraman, which he's kind of going to do. I'm moving a bunch of cows over the back there, and they're making a bit of noise. So again, that's pretty much all I wanted to see, is like, is he going to step into a canter and get real excited about it? Is he going to be real distracted by the cows, or not so much? Oh, oh, good boy. Like him to just turn and follow. He's done that real cool. I also got to practice making sure he stops not too close. So, whoa. Yeah, I want to make sure that he doesn't always think he's got to come marching right up close. But again, we're talking a confident horse here. If he was not such a confident horse, it would be really important that he did turn and follow and come in close and really look to me for support. this guy doesn't need the support so much. So I want him to turn, I want him to face, I want him to follow, I don't want him to crowd. So that's why I kept him at a little bit of a distance. And I always kind of find this super cool. You're in a big open area, and like we talk about trying to be the lead horse, this is exactly what the lead horse does. You know, earns the respect and the other horse is following. And sometimes some of those lead horses, like think about a wild stallion, a Brumby or a Mustang. Some of them have to get pretty tough on their little herd to get what they need. And I'm not an advocate of getting tough, because you tell some people to get tough and they get way too tough. And then other people you have to kind of tell, like, get really, really tough, because they're very soft people. Like, you really got to learn to adjust to your horse. And that's a thing that you can't really teach people. It's an experience thing, which is why this job is really for experienced people. Or if you're not experienced, you have somebody very experienced watching everything. Because knowing how hard to push and how little to push is one of the most important things. And you can have all the great techniques in the world, and you can know them back to front by all the great horsemen and clinicians that you've ever been to. But adapting and reading your horse is such an important thing. It's probably the most important thing. Boy. So like we said, we get to skim a few things on him that we might not get to do on others, but it gradually phases out on every horse. You know, the things that we have to do and don't have to do. This guy's, you know, we get to fast forward a bit, you know, here and there. Because he's so cool about things. But if he had any major issues, I'd still be doing the same things, just the time frame would be different. Each bit would take a little longer. You know, because I want to make sure they're good before we step onto the next bit. And he's going to learn, like, a very specific leg movement here means move your hip, move your shoulder, bend your ribs, turn. But I don't want him bothered about incidental contact. And yeah, with a horse like him, it's not such a big deal. But you could just imagine, and some of you might have horses at home, that if you did that, you'd get a lot of reaction. And my old horse, he'd probably go, oh, what are you asking me to do? But he wouldn't freak out about it. He'd be like, you know, you just ran over 10 buttons. You know, what do you want me to do? But he's confident enough he's not going to get into trouble. You know, because if I'm not clear, he kind of goes, okay, well, you're not clear. Well, I don't have to do anything. And that's kind of how I want my horses to go. I give them a clear signal, and it can still be light. But I give them a clear signal and they respond. I don't want to give them the vaguest suggestion and have them react. And we might do today, because we didn't do a bunch of running him around this arena. So he got, and I don't know how big this arena is, something 40 by 80 meters. So he might get out and get going and get a bit of distance and want to kick his heel up more as a playful thing. Whereas yesterday he sort of had his play, and then by the time I got to him, he might have got to that point, well, I'm actually a bit tired and really, I don't want to run. So we'll see how it plays out today. But these are the things that I need him to be quiet about. So again, bend, relax in position, and then we'll move that hip, and then lead his front end out. Nice. We've already scared the cameraman once today, so we'll try and avoid doing that again. The camera lady, I should say. So first thing, bend, stop moving your feet, feel secure in this position, and then move your butt, move your front. There's a bit of a puddle here to look at. So today is one of those days that people really want 2 leads, or feel they need 2 leads so they can avoid problems, stay away from the fence, stay away from the puddle. I am going to plan ahead pretty well and try to keep my distance from any hazards. You know, bend him round and stop and avoid it, but it's all going to be on the left, or it's all going to be on the right for a while. Like he's coming over here, and that corner's got a few things happening and hazards I'd like to keep a distance from. The other thing is, of course, all these little deflections. I'm teaching him to steer at the same time, obviously. But he knows 100%, well, it's going to be on the left because that's where that lead is. And sometimes, and it used to frustrate me, like when I was learning and people were making me do this, it's like, but I'm going round and round in little circles in the same spot. But the idea is he goes round and round here, and when he makes, it's his decision to leave, we can go with it. Now, I don't want him really splashing around in the puddle and getting hung up in the corner. So I just want him to keep a little bit of a wide berth out of this area. If he gets too close again, I'm just going to bend him round, let him go when he's pointing the direction I want. He kind of came straight back, so I just need to fix that. So again, today I'm not going to be trying to circle too much. But there's going to be plenty of steering happening anyway. And steering on a young horse, like they're very much needing a result. So I'm going to steer this point where I want, I'm just going to let him go. So it's very on and off. Ask him to turn, ask him to turn. And he makes that, you know, if we go round and round and round and round and asking little bit, little bit, little bit, little bit, you know, like young horses just get annoyed. So I'm going to ask you to turn, you go here, I'll leave you. And then hopefully he's going to make that decision to just keep going. And he's jogged off. You know, I'm not going to kill that in him, especially today. We're just going to go with it. And that's great. He's made the decision to move out and come over here. And we're just going to steady him up there, like steer to steady him up. But again, like we've sort of said all along, this guy could be a little lazy and like, oh, do I have to work? So I don't really mind if he offers me a little bit more go than I want occasionally. And you won't be able to see it through the camera. We got a bunch of cows there and a guy running over there with his ATV. So he's just having a little stare at that. But he's also having a calm stare. Like some young horses might look and you can tell they're internally freaking out. and they're getting really worried, and they're looking and obsessing and like, what if this happens, and what if that happens? And you know, if that's the case, I'm just gonna bend him around and get his attention back on me, and basically just deflect his thought pattern. But because he was just casually looking, it's like, oh, you can casually look all day, I don't really care. And again, there's going to be some investigation, so there's sort of a little shed here they've done some functions under, and he wants to have a little look at that. That's fine. We're in no rush. Main thing is he's nice and calm and he's having a great day out. And it's a pleasant experience. And I'm doing things here and there. And that's the fun part about it. He's just sort of investigating and having a nice day out. And I'm sneaking little lessons in here and there that are building towards me having more and more control. I'm like, well, I want you to stay here and I want you to turn. And okay, go off and do your thing. And which is what he's doing now. He's like, oh, there's a horse on the hill there, and I'd like to just wander over there and have a look. And he's staying nice and relaxed about it. Chose to step up a bit. Oh, had a little shy at the shelter there. But, you know, he's having a look. I just bent him around to deter him from running away too far or too fast. But he's calm. And again, we'll bend him off, give him a little different job. Today is certainly not the day where he sees something that he really finds problematic. Today is not the day where I say, well, you got to go up there and you have to deal with that. You know, he can kind of keep, if he wants to give it a little bit of a wide berth, I don't really care. It's kind of good, like we say, we didn't wear him out running around too much, so he's got a little bit more, you know, making a few more decisions to kick it up into second gear, up into a trot. And he kind of made the decision to actually run over here and have a look at this stuff that bothered him before. And he's wondering if I want to do anything with it. And I don't really need to go up and have any closer look at it. I'm just going to flip the lead rope over his head to the right. Now he knows everything's going to be to the right. And then in terms of my seating position on these young horses, I'm sitting with my bum tucked right underneath me and try and stay real loose and relaxed in the middle. So if they spook or have a problem, and sometimes these quiet horses, they're still going to occasionally see something that might really bother them and they're going to jump sideways. He could get over here and he just looks over the edge and he sees those cows at the last minute and goes, oh, I'm not really used to them. We can also encourage these young horses to have an investigation. We can help them out and they can come looking to us for support. And that's also what we're trying to do here. I'm going to allow him to look and make up some decisions and help him if it's needed. But he's showing me that later on, like when, you know, if he does end up being a show horse, when he gets in difficult situations, he's going to be less inclined to flee and run away and get bothered, and more inclined to sort of assess and, you know, see if I'm bothered by it, all that kind of stuff. So, all very good. And he decided to pick up the jog, and like I said, at this point I'm just going to go with it because I don't really want to discourage him putting effort in. And he's not doing anything too quick or too uncontrolled, so there's no need for me to get too worried either, obviously. As I said, most of the steering today will be he's going a little too fast or he's getting too close to an object that I don't want to get tangled up in or rub my leg on and that sort of thing. As we said though, we're just keeping it really simple and gradually making more and more decisions for him, but we're in no way trying to say we have ultimate control and impose ultimate control at this point. All these cows very curious today. G'day, thank you so much for watching. If you could like, share, subscribe, turn on the notifications bell, that would be awesome. Thank you. Cheers. So yesterday we had our little discussion about working, a bit of a heated discussion in spots. So today I'm trying to make it really pleasant and make the whole episode pleasant so that he thinks that's more what it's about. As his training goes by, obviously there will be days that we're going to have to push and all that kind of stuff, but I really want him to look forward to coming to work. And given he's a little lazy, I'm saving most of the go work for the end so that he anticipates, well, I'm not real keen on having to run around and carry this guy, but you know, when we do the cantering and the harder work, it usually means that the day's over. So if he's looking forward to the day being over, you're going to start looking forward to that little bit of fast work as a result. If I feel through his training he starts looking for the fast work more, then I might do it in the middle and finish with slow work, or do it at the start and spend the rest of the session going slow. Just adjusting to his changing moods and attitude as time goes on throughout his training career. So we're now asking him to move more and putting a little bit more pressure on him. And he's done a great job and he's been really good. We like to think we've done our homework and we can bend him around, and you know, if he gets too carried away in this big space, and some horses in this big space might get, you know, to go a lot faster and need a lot more help. Always worth noting different horses, different time frames. Some horses that were more insecure, I might have spent 2 weeks on the ground before I did the first ride. It would have taken me longer to get to this point. There would have been just an extra ride or two in the round yard, and I would have gone out of my way. I used to have property with great facilities, and I had an arena with 60 by 30. So it was big enough to run, but not too big. You know, like, again, adjusting to fit the horse. And he comes with you know, his own things that need work, and every horse comes with that. My job as a horseman to keep assessing, keep judging where I think they are now, where I think they may have been, and what they might need help with from here on. Some people will prejudge a horse, and that's could be a real problem. A horse could come to you and it's been handled and it's a little spoiled, so you think, well, I need to be tough. It's like sometimes you need to be tough, sometimes you got to switch off and be nice too. And if I've prejudged him too much, I'll be too quick to be tough. But I just take him as he comes and kind of live in the moment like he's living in the moment. All right, we'll just step him up into a canter now. He's obviously leaning right, which you probably would have seen right at the camera. He's leaning right as he took off, so I knew he wasn't gonna, arc around nice to the left. Again, there's a few little hazards in that corner. Nothing major, obviously, or I wouldn't ride him in here, but I just don't want him to sort of have to negotiate logs and puddles, etc. at this point with me on him. He ran over and scared the camera lady earlier, so try and avoid doing that 2 times in one day. So again, why one lead? We're making this difficult. We're going round and round. We keep leaving him here. And eventually he's going to make the decision to leave, as opposed to me trying to make all the decisions for him. And there we go, off he goes up the fence. That's good. It's too close to the fence, I'm not real fussed on that, so we'll turn in and point him out to the middle of the arena again. Yeah, there's horses over there, mate. There's horses everywhere here, horses and cows. Point out towards the middle. So we talked about hazards. Obviously running over the camera lady is a hazard. So we need to set up for that early. Alright, you gotta give me a hip and then get out of here. Attaboy. Practicing a little bit of steering and disengaging because it keeps wanting to run to that corner. And then no pressure. And then lots. Actually not lots because he just followed my lead. And none. And a bit. And none. So he's still having arguments about this going forward bit. He's got his finder. He's kind of got to find his way out of this bind. You know, he's in a little bind here where he's like adamant he's got to go to the corner. That puts him in the fence, and we're off. Awesome. Just trying to set him up if we could lope around. Doing a lot of drawing him around to the left, so we might change sides just for a little change of pace. Oh, no. So he's kind of learnt from the ground what whoa means, obviously. We say whoa and we're going to start that little bend. Let him know he can stop. And just an idea on my assessment, like it took a little bit to get him going forward, and he still got, not, you know, again, he was less than yesterday. You know, quite significantly a lot less about, well, I got to go forward. Excuse me. But there's spots today that he really wants to go and be in and look at, and I don't want him really doing that. So I think there's been a few more discussions about that. We did a bit around to the right, so we could call it a day there, but I wouldn't mind him just doing a little bit more on his left lead if we can set that up. And like I said, I got to convince him to work for a living when he's told, but not make him think he's got to run for a living. So sometimes when horses are a little reluctant to go forward, you know, and somebody can ride and they cowboy up a bit, which I could do that, you know, and kind of whop him on the butt a little bit harder and say, hey, you got to go when you're told, and, you know, really hunt him around and get tough on him. And then, yeah, you teach him to go forward, but you also may be teaching him that he thinks he's got to run for a living. You know, that when in doubt, go forward is the way out. You know, go forward is the response the human's looking for. I'm still trying to keep it that I get him going forward, but just when you're told, and don't argue back too much, you know. Because I've found over the years that it's easy to get horses going, or a lot easier to get horses going than it is to get horses to be quiet and steady and take things easy. The obvious reason that they run away from their problems is because they're a prey animal. That's what they've been doing for centuries. So there's a little bit of that inbuilt in all of them. And if I tap into that by getting him to think, you know, run when you got a problem, run, like the rider wants me to run all the time. I could tap into that. Even on this horse, he's like, you know, so casual about it. And I don't want to do that. I just want him to go without too much argument, or obviously without any argument, really. So I got to be a bit pushy, but not too much. And it's a very hot, yeah, it's middle of summer here in Australia at the time, and you can see he's kind of hot and sweaty, and I understand him. Like, I wouldn't mind being over in the shade too, even though it is only like 8 o'clock in the morning. Oh no, coming up towards 9. Anyways, let's go a little bit more round to the left. We're gonna have to get a bit pushy. Oh, now. That one to me was kind of the sweet spot. He's like, I'm hot, I'm tired, I don't want to go forward. Go forward a bit when I tell you, and I'll quit. You know, that was that little bit extra. Okay, I really don't want to go forward. Okay, just go forward, and then we'll quit. So to me, that was kind of the right moment to stop. I could have quit earlier, but I really need to get him to get a work ethic happening. So that last little bit, when he's not really wanting to do it, like he's really, we could all kind of see he's like, well, I really kind of had enough. I was like, sometimes you got to dig deep for that last little bit, but then I'll leave you alone. In other words, I'm not going to overwhelm you. I'm not going to overdo it. I don't want you to get too hot and sore and tired, but sometimes you won't 100% feel like it'll be with me, but you still got to go. And that's different because some people adopt that and go the other way, and it's like, okay, he's done that, now I'm going to do another 15 kilometers to prove who's boss. You know, and then he's just got a reason to hate me and hate being ridden. And we can see through all of this, like he doesn't hate me at all, which is really cool. You notice as soon as I rubbed him, he licked his lips. He's like, yeah, I'm doing what I can for you, mate. Okay, see you then. Quick cut back in. Remembered what I was going to say. You can see this horse kick up a lot. So some of you know, some of you won't. If you keep attacking a horse in the belly, there's more chance they'll come up. Like, you can think of it, saddle bronc riders, rodeo riders will annoy this area to make the horse go up. Jockeys hit him on the bum with a stick to go forward. So you can see this horse when he gets cranky and I'm hitting him on the butt, he's just kicking up and out. That's much easier to ride, and it's much more functional than me just kicking him in the belly. If I keep kicking him in the belly, I might get him lifting up more, he might buck and do stuff like that. So that's why we're swatting him on the butt, because he may kick out, but it won't be anywhere near as violent if I keep attacking his belly. A horse going forward off belly pressure is pretty much a cued response. So I squeeze him a little, when he goes forward, the squeeze goes away. So he goes, okay, belly squeeze, go forward, that means go forward. He knows nothing, he's a blank slate. So when I'm swatting him on the butt, my legs are doing a little, but not too much. Some people, you know, they'll get, and I'm, you know, real cowboy about it, and they'll put spurs on at this stage, and when he doesn't go forward, they spur him. I honestly can't think of anything worse to do to him. It'd be the dumbest thing I could possibly do to this horse. I'm going to teach him to get snaky, hurt, cranky, and there's a way more chance he's going to, you know, hump up. Me swatting him on the butt, him having a kick out, you know, I'm getting the job done, but I'm not creating a fight. Anyway, very important point. Catch you tomorrow. G'day. Thank you very much for watching. I do really appreciate it. This video of Gino's journey is meant to be more of a entertainment video, not educational, as in it's not a how-to video. All horses react and start differently. If you are going to attempt to start your own horse, you really need to enlist the help of a seasoned professional, or get a seasoned professional to do your horse for you and get them started. It's not an easy job, and it's not a job to be taken lightly, because this is your horse's introduction to the rest of his riding career, and it's really not to be messed with. So take it for what it is. It's a lot of fun to watch. It's been a lot of fun to share, and I really appreciate that you've taken the time to watch it and that you'll keep watching the channel. Thank you very much. Cheers.